Everybody, it's Kimberly. I'm an eternal life student, which simply means human. At the end of the day, that really is the only title that we need. I think people are like walking books, a living library. We each have our own stories to share, and by sharing them together, we can grow stronger. And today I have a guest here who's going to share their story. His name is Eric Lee. Hi, Eric. How are you doing?
Doing well, Kimberly. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm excited to find out a lot about our topic today. We're going to be talking about you as a professional voice actor and all the things that go with it.
Well, it's definitely a unique category of business to be in, that I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. And you have the voice for it, just so you know.
Yeah, well, I've had a few people tell me that, so it's
Yeah,
good I didn't get into selling shoes or
this
something,
is true.
Yeah, good.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get into voice acting?
Well, my background would be that as a little kid, I started mimicking things I saw on TV. I would pick up accents. A lot of it came, for those of you who might remember, The Wonderful World of Disney. That was
Oh,
always a
yes.
Sunday night treat with all the cartoon characters and their voices, obviously Bugs Bunny and some of those too.
Yes.
And I just started mimicking them and found that, hey, there's a bit of a variety there. So I actually learned a German accent from
Oh, nice.
listening to Ludwig van Drake on The Wonderful World of Disney. It
See?
it just kind of comes out naturally. So, um, and one thing led to another. I graduated from high school and got into radio. I
Oh,
had,
nice.
just imagination was always something, even though I work in audio, I think visually.
Mm-hmm.
So, doing different characters, like an old man who's, kind of having some health issues,
Aw.
you know, but just taking on that whole demeanor and being able to maintain the character. But it's a
Yes.
lot like stage acting in terms of making sure that you stay in the character, that you
Yes,
don't bounce
definitely.
around and it's always fun to try to mix them together, like an old
Yes.
British guy. You know, he's always playing croquet with his buddies out there on the lawn. So it's just one of those
Nice.
things that it's just a ton of fun to play with. And
Yes.
when I was in radio, I thought, well, maybe that'll be a stepping stone to doing cartoon voices. So radio did provide that opportunity in a lot of ways. So
Yes.
that's how I got into voice acting, and a little bit of roundabout way, but as I used to say to people, well, I've been everything from French fries to teeth as
Oh,
far as characters.
nice.
Yeah, I remember it was doing a commercial for a dentist, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
So I was talking teeth.
I was just saying you were the teeth. So, okay, what does a tooth sound like? Now I need to know, right?
Any anything you want. I mean, that's the joy of not having to imitate something that people already
True.
know.
Ah,
But
true.
but
Very true.
because then you can make up your own characters, and I wish my name was Mel Blanc, but it's not. But
Oh,
anyway, um I don't know. You could be a harsh bunch of teeth. That could do it really easily. It depends on your attitude.
I love
So,
it.
or you could do a little bit rougher. If you're the back molars, you're like crunching people, you know,
Ah,
stuff like
I like
that.
that. I
Yeah.
like
So,
it.
anyway, but I've always had a lot of fun doing that and entertain people in the process. So,
Yes.
one one commercial I remember doing was for a car wash. And
Okay.
I actually ended up writing this one, but I did it. It only could be a 30-second long commercial.
Oh, wow.
So how do you advertise a whole car wash and all their services? So I came up with a Swedish weightlifter being strapped to
Oh,
the top of a car. This is for radio, okay? So
okay. I'm like, wait, wait.
there's no video crew involved,
Okay.
but adding sound effects and music, just the whole thing. But you heard him yelling from the top of the car, and I turn off the hose. It's a lot of water on my, I really heard. So eventually
There you
he just
go.
lost his mind.
Should have had a little bubbles in there, you know?
Yeah, well,
A little bit
yeah,
of
that you have to have sound effects for.
this
So
is true.
a
This is
little
true.
impromptu, I gave you a little
I like
taste,
that.
but anyway,
So
so
you also learn how to write as well,
oh
right?
yeah,
So you do
yes.
some scripts with it too. You don't just read it, you've actually created it.
Yep, when the project allows, I actually enjoy writing
Yeah.
commercials
Oh,
and writing
nice.
writing dialogue spots too, and
Hmm.
just dialogue scripts because while I can write very formally
Hmm.
and I inherited a large vocabulary from my dad, um, I I can write very conversationally, meaning get the points across, but make it sound like people are just talking about it, like you and I are
Oh,
now.
nice. Yeah, no, that's great. That takes a certain talent and technique to it. People don't realize, that's not just something anybody can do. You have to be able to pull those pieces out so that people can connect to it. So
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah,
And
and I think
clients,
maybe the radio, working in the radio helped.
yes,
Especially with the timing. Timing is very important, right? Radio, you can only have this much time to create it no matter what.
right. And often clients will try to get everything and the kitchen sink
Oh,
into
yes,
30 seconds.
of
So
course.
you have to be very concise and still get
Yes.
the main message across. Actually, I felt like I was successful in writing a script when people would say, "Okay, that was a good spot," and I actually remember the client's name.
See,
If I
that's
can get
good.
people to remember just one thing and
Hmm.
what to do about it, there you go.
Yeah, mission
That's my
accomplished,
goal.
right?
I mean, you
Yes.
figure with all the messages that are bombarding us all day long on social media, radio, TV,
Hmm.
you name it.
Yeah.
Um, if you can pierce that that whole rush of a
Yes.
cloud just constantly coming, I think you did your job. So that's
Yeah.
been my goal pretty much and that can even be, training, something that
Hmm.
people want to make sure that their new employees are going to remember about the benefits
Yes.
they're going to get, things like
No,
that. It's a principle that I've found to be really useful over time.
no. And you know what I find? Even in presentations and speakers in general, you have the monotone one that everyone falls asleep, right? Like you said,
Right.
and the memorable one. They're animated, they leave an impression, they leave behind that message. So that's
Right.
the key, right? And that's what you present. So
Yeah.
that's great.
And I've even found that, doing a funny voice or two, if
Hmm.
I'm speaking live somewhere, which occasionally I get the opportunity to do,
Right.
but if I do that, or even just talking with someone personally,
Hmm.
I don't have to say anything funny. But but if I do it with a French accent, let's say, all of a sudden they're starting to smile, just like you.
Yes, of course.
So
Because they know it's fun, right? You're
yes.
trying to lighten the mood, enjoy the fun,
Hmm.
and that's the best part of it. So
Yeah, it's
that's
a way to
great.
engage people.
Yes, definitely. So what are some opportunities out there these days for people who want to learn voice acting?
Well, I will say that I do coaching and
Okay.
can help people learn about script interpretation, a little bit of acting
Hmm.
because voice acting is just that. It's
Yes.
different than stage acting. A lot of
Hmm.
actors, they can transfer many of the skills of on-stage work to the
Hmm.
studio. It's different though, because you're not trying to use diction that the person in the very back row of the theater would be able to make out exactly what you're saying, because
Right.
your audience is about that far away from you. So,
True.
so
They're hearing everything.
mhm, there are differences, but again, you can transfer a lot of the skills.
Mhm.
So there are other ways to go about getting trained, and I think just experience alone is going to help. But to learn
Yes.
how to interpret a script well and
Mhm.
sound like you're not reading.
Right.
I know a lot of people think that voice acting, well, you're just reading out loud. What's the big deal? Well,
Yeah.
un until they try it,
Hmm.
that's when you realize, oh, you have
This
to be
takes
a
a
very
lot.
good reader, first of all,
Yes.
kind of like riding a bike. If you're still, wondering about, well, should I pedal now or should I move the handlebars a little bit or should I pedal now? You're
Right.
not going to
Yeah,
get anywhere. So, and you're not going to sound natural or on a bike look natural. So, with reading a script, it's kind of the same thing. Um,
definitely.
you can't sound like you're going to, trip over words. And it's not that you do everything in one take, but
Hmm.
to be able to interpret a script well, and sound like you're just being yourself. You're not
Right.
putting on anything. You're just
Yeah.
being very natural. That's the style today, is the guy next door, or
Yes.
in some cases, the lady next door.
Yeah. No,
I
and it builds
I
that
fit into the
connection, like you said.
right. So if you watch or hear national TV or radio spots, and you
Hmm.
got people like Tom Selleck and a bunch of
Hmm.
other folks,
Yes.
they just convey things very naturally with some gravitas,
Hmm.
and you're like, yeah, I believe that guy.
True.
So, and that's why they pay them the money that they do.
Very true. That's it's true.
Yeah,
But that's
probably
also because of the skill that comes with it, right?
exactly
It's not just anybody who can pick it up and just read like that. And
right.
not only that, it's timing. People don't
Hmm.
realize, how fast you read or how slow you have to take it and the different technique that goes with it, right?
Hmm. The, a lot of times a client will want, I'll call it a feel piece or an
Okay.
image spot,
Mm-hmm.
and they're talking about a very maybe touchy topic or a very soft topic like
Mm-hmm.
jewelry,
Right.
and they'll put in like 38 seconds of copy in a 30-second spot
Oh.
and say,
Mm-hmm.
now I want this soft. Well,
How
you,
you gonna
you
make it stop when you're like
yeah,
really
yeah,
fast?
you can't race and be soft at the same time.
This is
It
true.
doesn't work so well.
It's
But
true.
yeah, no, it's a real art, and I think that's
Yes.
what a lot of people, once they really learn how to do it, come to understand is this is an art form no different than painting or
Yes.
singing or playing the piano.
Yeah.
Um, I can maybe manage chopsticks. If you put me in front of a piano, I can't do symphony stuff,
Right.
but
Right.
that would just take a lot of time. Now, my
Hmm.
mom could because she spent most of her life playing the piano,
There you go. You
and I
see?
watched her.
Aw.
But anyway, it's the same thing. Any industry, especially entertainment or the arts in general,
Yes.
you have to have the natural talent to go along with it.
Can
Every
anybody be a voice actor?
they can maybe get the idea that they can. What I often hear people say is they've been told by many people that they have a very
Hmm.
nice voice.
Yes. True. Very true.
Well, that's
Right?
good. Um, I
That,
usually equate that with somebody saying to me, here's a hammer, go build a house.
Yes, you have to have the tools and the technique. You can't just give them one thing.
and
You
the
need the whole
skill.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
they would not want to live in a house that I built. I have
True.
no skills in that
Aw,
area whatsoever.
right.
However,
Hmm.
um, I do understand about voice work. I've been doing it
Yes,
quite a while, so helping other people realize, okay, yes, you have a hammer, but do you know how to use it?
exactly. So you can show them the different things that they can practice, what they need to work on,
Hmm.
those type of things, right?
Yeah, and it all winds together or weaves together with pacing and
Yes.
tone and feel. I know
Hmm.
those are all very, very general descriptions, but
But are important.
oh yeah, and it's
Yeah.
all part of it. And like you and I are talking right now, we're
Mhm.
not talking at the same pace all the time or using the same inflection, things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
So,
Not only that, sometimes there's different styles. Some people don't know what they're good at. They may
mm,
think they can do anything. So you as the expert can say, you know what, your tone, your speed, this might be good for this type of work, right?
right. Yep.
Where someone else might be good in a different section. And people don't realize what a wide variety is out there that could be used, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's anything from audiobooks to podcasts
Hmm.
to commercials to online promos to website videos.
Yeah,
Um, Audiobooks, let me touch on that for a minute. I
sure.
know they are wildly popular and continuing to explode in
Yes.
the number of them that are out there. And I know for podcasts in particular, I know my son likes to listen to them while he mows the grass at his house.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So,
See?
and you travel on a long trip and you
Yes.
listen to an audiobook or three, depending on
Yep.
how far you're going.
True.
So, and I've done several of them, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of work, especially if there are multiple characters involved.
Yes.
Because back to what I said earlier about maintaining a character, if
Hmm.
there's one character in chapter 2 and they reappear in chapter 10, they better be the same character. They can't be
Yes.
different.
Hmm.
I recently did an audiobook actually for a friend of mine who's written multiple books, and he's a best-selling author.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and that was one of the things. There were different characters that kind of jumped in and out of the story.
Hmm.
So
So you had to
uh,
change each one.
yeah, there was a hermit, and I think he showed up pretty early in the book. So
Oh.
I had to, a little bit of an old man treatment, but different than this guy who's ready to have a coronary. You know,
Oh,
no, Hermit's got a little gruffness to him. So,
I like
you
it.
know, so
You got to
realizing,
be
and
able to decipher between the two, right? It's
oh yeah,
important. And also the timing for each of the things,
yep,
right? Do you
be
do the
able to.
editing for it?
Oh yes, yep. I did
Okay.
the whole banana, as they say.
Ah.
That's one of the nice things about having my own studio as well, and having a background in radio because
Yes.
that's where
Part
I
of it.
learned how to do editing. And that was
Nice.
before the days where most people had access to a multi-track studio. I
Mm-hmm.
I actually did on two-track reel-to-reel tape recorders, which some people in your audience may not have a clue about what those are, but I did a Santa Claus with eight elves
Oh,
uh,
wow.
bouncing back and forth with one track to the next, kind of the way the Beatles did when they first started and did it on a four-track recorder.
Uh, you see?
So it's the
So
same
you
technique.
yes. So you've learned all different things throughout these years that now
Right.
you can utilize for the present
Yep.
time, which is
Oh yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's a whole lot easier now because of digital editing and recording. So
Oh, definitely.
you can do things now that you never could then.
Yes. But at the same token, there's certain techniques from the past that now
Right.
you bring with you that can add something, or you can hear something a little bit different than someone who wasn't used to it. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, even solving problems that I remember doing a certain way when there was older
Mhm.
technology, and now saying, oh, okay, I'll just transform that into how you do it now.
Exactly.
So that, yeah. So it's a lot of fun. I, when I get projects that involve, whether it's characters or other people involved, it's still fun to me. It's not really work. Now,
That's the way
I
it
do want
should
people,
be.
yeah, I do want people to
Yeah,
pay me for what I do, but
of
it's,
course.
so, but
It's work that's with money,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, that's helpful at the grocery store. But
Very
um,
true. Right.
to just bring things alive, that's one of the nice things about being a writer too, is if I'm the writer of a project, then I know
Yes,
exactly what I have in mind and can bring it out. Like that
definitely.
commercial about the Swedish weightlifter on the top of the car going through the car wash. I knew
Yeah.
exactly what I had in mind, and the client
So
even
you could
liked it.
you could
That's
picture it. You got the whole vision. You've got the
right,
personality. You
right.
got the message. You're writer, producer, musician, vocal. You got it
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Maybe the janitor too, but
Yeah,
I try and keep him, kind of back in the background.
of
But
course.
yeah, it's just an area of work that I've always enjoyed, really love it, and would be happy to help anybody get into it as long as they've got the skill and the interest.
No, that's great. So what are can you describe like some experiences you had? You already talked about the techniques that you use for your accents, your dialects, the
Mhm.
characters. Like where do you draw that from? Is it from other shows, from actual people, from your own imagination? A little bit of everything?
I would say a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I remember going to a recording session at a different studio, and
Hmm.
they were doing a takeoff on all the insurance companies with their mascots.
Oh, wow.
So they had all these different animals auditioning to be a mascot. So
Oh.
I did everything from an alligator to a skunk.
What's an alligator sound like? Now I'm curious.
Well, an alligator, you know, he's not too happy. He'll snap at you anytime, you know.
Oh. And what about a skunk?
Well, it depends. He might have an android problem, and but he's got really good aim.
So when you go in there, do they like print out what they're looking for so that you can prepare and plan, or do you submit something?
That session, I didn't see the script beforehand.
Oh,
And
really?
once really, and once they realized that I could come up with a bunch of them, they said, well, yeah, we were actually going to have several people try these, and I think they still did. But
Mm-hmm.
um, they said, "Well, here, do this one too." So
Oh,
that
nice.
was one of the most fun sessions I think I can envision, I that
Really?
I've ever had, because they
Oh,
just
that's
kept saying,
great.
"Hey, what else can you do?" So
Oh,
so
that's great.
yeah, so it came out well, and as far as I know, the client was happy, and so was I.
Oh,
Those kinds of projects, that was one that wasn't work. It
yes.
was fun, and they just kept saying, "Hey, keep going."
What else you got, right? Yeah.
Right?
You're like, hold on, I
Yeah,
got
tap
it.
dancing doesn't work too well, but they
Well,
didn't get that far. Yeah,
uh,
so
do
yeah,
you do most of your sounds vocally? Like, does that make sense the way I'm even asking? Like you don't cover your mouth, you know what I mean? Like, do you do anything different?
it depends on what it is,
Okay.
um, because you know you've been in an airport, right?
Yes. Exactly. See, so I knew there had to be something.
Yeah,
Do you go
yeah.
like this or anything? You know?
Um, I
No?
probably now have technical or digital ways of making it do
Ah,
that, or I'll
okay.
just talk while I gargle. I don't,
You
that could
know,
be
it
another way.
works.
As
It
long as
all
there's
depends on what it is they're looking for too, right?
right, right. As long as nobody's standing right in front of me, I could use that technique. But you
True.
know,
I wouldn't recommend it, you
no,
know.
definitely not.
So I've heard I've listened to some of your samples of other things that you've had. And I've heard you also in serious roles, not just the fun laughing roles,
Right,
but you also do the serious commercials and announcements and things like that. Can you
right.
talk about some of those and what you did for that to prepare?
Yeah, those can be pretty interesting because to get the right feel of what somebody wants, the right style of
Right.
voice. Just today, I did an audition. You know the movie trailer line, "In a world," you
Yes.
probably heard that a bazillion
Yes.
times.
Of course.
So
Nice.
I did an audition like that today.
Oh,
So
great. Good luck.
that that meant that I had to relax my voice so it
Hmm.
could stay in a lower register and
Yes.
huddle up to the mic a little bit
Hmm.
so I didn't have to project very much. And that would
Nice.
be, that's part of the techniques that I would help people with. But just to keep that movie trailer feel the whole way through
Yes.
it. So,
Now, you did if I remember correctly, you did some medical commercial, right?
yeah, a lot of the medical things are often promotional
Mhm.
rather than so much, like the commercials you see for medications on TV.
Right.
But I have done that with 27 syllable words as well. So,
Yes. Oh my goodness. How do you even, what happens about reading some of the words now that you mentioned that? I would be tongue twister, like
yeah, I the first time I ever did a medically oriented script was actually
Yes.
for a veterinarian client,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
it was peppered with, six, seven syllable words that I had never
Oh,
seen before.
right.
And even some of the veterinarians couldn't agree on how to pronounce some of the words.
See, that tells you something.
What
So I
I
say, just
found to
take the
be,
medicine, right?
yeah, well, the one was Dipetalanemia reconditum,
Oh
and
my goodness.
they couldn't agree on how reconditum,
Okay.
reconditum, reconditum.
Ah,
They couldn't
see?
agree which one it was. Well, what that meant was I had to do that many takes of the same
Oh,
sentence, and that wasn't the only long
word.
uh, words in the sentence. There were others like right near it. So I came up with a goofy word association.
No, I
Um,
would have written it phonetically, however I would think you'd.
Typically do it, but when you're going along, especially with unfamiliar material,
Yes.
and you get to these words and you don't know what they are,
Yes.
phonetics, to try to interpret that on the fly is really challenging. I'm sure some people can do
But
it quite well, but for
yeah.
me, I make these silly word associations
Okay.
with Dipetalanemia reconditum.
Oh
Um,
my God.
I
Say
at the
that five
time,
times fast, right?
yeah, yeah. I came up with a lady named Di, short
Okay.
for Diana. She's pedaling a bicycle called Anima. So
Okay.
I pedal Anima reconditum. I just
It
figured if I get
works.
the first word, I can get the second. So
Smart,
that's
and
what
it
I came
sounds
up
like it
with.
worked, right? It
Yeah,
worked. So,
because I can still remember it. Um,
wow.
and actually, in another session, I got thrown German phrase,
Oh,
and I've
wow.
never studied German. I
Okay.
I can do a German accent when called
Yes.
upon. That was easy to realize what the key sounds of a dialect are.
Hmm.
But my kids still even know this phrase. It was Arbeitsgemeinschaft für Osteosynthesephagen.
Exactly. Do you
Yeah.
even know what it meant, or you just repeated it?
Well, it has something to do with bone surgery of all things.
I heard
And,
osteo in there.
right, right. And synthesephagen, I guess, is synthesis. So it's
Satesephagen.
yeah, yeah. Use that as at the next time you're at the grocery store. They'll
I
love it.
will.
Yeah. It's
No,
just
and that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Have you ever had to say, speaking another language that you didn't understand and just say it? You know what I
it
mean?
it depends. It depends on the script. A lot of times it'll be, like obviously I'm an American English speaker, so I would do an anglicized version of, say, a city in France. But
Okay.
depending on what the client wants, I may have to quickly learn French.
Yeah. Basically it's whatever the client wants, right?
Yeah,
So you have
yes,
to learn to adapt quickly. Now,
yeah.
do you ever I guess try to listen to music with certain accents to kind of get your mindset, kind of like actors would do, right? An actor sometimes goes around and surrounds himself with it so that they can pick it up. Do you do techniques like that?
Um, Not music, but I would listen to people speak,
Yeah.
and that a lot of times is where watching TV
Yeah. No,
was a real
it's true.
help because it sometimes it involved music, but a lot of the times they were just speaking.
Hmm.
And what I found to be very helpful in learning the different dialects that I do, it's getting the key sounds
Yes.
with Russian accent.
Hmm.
As long as you roll your R's a lot and you
Hmm.
sound like you have a lot of pride in what you do,
Hmm. See,
that's
and that's it. Listening to those certain key sounds
mhm,
is
yep,
part of the experience that you have, right?
yes,
Not everybody
yep,
can pick that up, but someone who's listening can hear it.
right, yep.
Yes.
And to be authentic, and now I've spoken to people who are actually British,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a subtle difference. And I know actors
Yes.
who are American,
Mm-hmm.
they can pick up a good English accent.
Yes.
Mine's kind of an American version of it, but
It's okay, right?
yeah,
Just that it
but
depends on what the client wants, right?
right, absolutely. So
So,
it's all those things wrapped together.
yes. So my mom, she used to sing a lot in a choir. And one of
Hmm.
the things she had to do was to take care of her voice, right?
Hmm.
And I'm assuming that you yourself are very careful since that is part of your work, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
it's your instrument. Do
yep.
you have a certain routine that you do to take care of your voice?
Not so much an official routine, but drink a lot of water.
Yes.
Whether I'm working doing voice work or not, because
Mm-hmm.
to stay hydrated is just generally good for you health wise,
Yeah.
but it keeps oil in the engine, so to speak.
Yes.
So that and just trying to stay healthy,
Mm-hmm.
exercise when I can,
Good.
because that's going to enable me
Affect.
to use the tool that I have.
Yeah. Do you do any like humming techniques or
Yeah,
voice sounds or I don't know what you want to call it.
there are, and this would be something that actors would share. They
Mhm.
would, there are lip trills,
Okay.
you
Ah.
know, that kind of thing. It sounds goofy and it looks weird,
But
but
does it help?
it works. Yes, because it
Ah.
loosens up the muscles. You
Okay.
can, do circles on your jaw muscles,
Ah,
um,
okay.
and a couple of different patterns of things to say is a nonsensical pataka 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 pataka,
Mm-hmm.
because that does the front, the middle, and the back of your tongue use. So doing that,
Okay.
there's one I typically warm up with: red letter, yellow letter, but do
Oh, wow.
do that
Okay.
in an ongoing series.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are tons of other ones.
I'm
Um,
sure.
and all you have to do is read a Dr. Seuss book, and you'll get plenty of
You'll
them.
get it. Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
So,
so what okay, so we kind of went over a little bit of the different things, the different techniques, what exactly it entails. Can you just give just a little snapshot on the day in the life, a typical day of a voice actor?
well, like everybody else, I wake up in the morning, and
Yes, very
then
important.
because I have because I have my studio in my home, it's not a long commute.
Nice,
So
very
I'm
nice.
I'm here in the studio pretty much all day,
Hmm.
and either doing marketing or auditioning, like I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And if there are some paying voice jobs, like I had today, it was a medical narration.
Oh, nice.
And so I had to prep for that because there were a couple of dyed in the wool medical terms. Not,
Yes.
I think they were three syllables, not seven. But
Okay.
uh, but one I had a couple of weeks ago was acetylcholinesterase.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah. It was-
say it with me now.
Yes, acetyl something something ace.
Yeah. So anyway, but that
No,
that
that's great.
was good to do, and the people were happy. So as long as that's going along, hey, I'm happy too.
Perfect.
So and marketing, spending
Hmm.
time making sure I'm connecting with people that I've done work with and people
Yes.
that I would like to do work for.
Perfect. And then if you were going to do coaching with people, what are some of the things that you would kind of show them?
Well, I have a variety of scripts available, both
Hmm.
commercial and narration is where I typically start with students.
Okay.
And really, initially assess them. Often what I'll do is just a 15-minute free assessment over Zoom or a
Hmm.
video call, and just to see how they handle a script that they haven't seen before, because that's a real test
Yes.
of how well they read, of
Hmm.
script interpretation,
Yes.
things like that. And
Mhm.
somebody that wants to get into voice acting, they can either do it or not. I haven't found anybody in
Right.
the middle.
Right. You're there or you're not. Yeah, right.
I
Like
I
you
think
can
so.
sing or you can't, right? There's no, right?
Right.
Yes.
It's
So,
that I would do the same assessment if I tried to be a car mechanic. It
oh
would be
yes.
they would initially immediately
Line
say,
the engine. Right.
no, no, give me that
Right.
tool back. Don't do that again."
Exactly.
But
No.
yeah, they're leading people through pacing
Mhm.
and just bringing different emotions
Okay.
into a read and making sure that they maintain the same, I'll say, character. Even though they might be using their regular voice, it's still that
Right.
same character of excitement or of
Yeah.
sadness or
Yes.
any kind of emotion you can think of. And that comes in handy, being able to change that or
Hmm.
at least maintain it doing an audiobook, because audiobooks are hours of material.
Yes. Yes. No,
And,
it's true.
and being able to maintain that over a long time is really important.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
No.
things like that. That's what I involve with the coaching that I do, and one-on-one direction. I teach a class as well that gives them a
Great.
little bit of back and forth, watching somebody else take
Hmm.
direction and be able to say, "Oh, okay, here's how I would do that same thing." And
Perfect.
there's not so much right or wrong in it. It's more, this is
Technique.
my style of doing it.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. using the same techniques, but
Hmm.
realizing, okay, for me, this works better if I keep my register down a little bit
Yes.
or up a little bit.
Yeah,
It
they
depends.
they kind of find their own,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And then grow
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Being yourself and being believable is the real key to doing voice work. So that's the
Yes,
goal, is sounding
definitely.
like you're not reading
Hmm.
and being believable while you do that.
Exactly. And then build the connection and
Yep.
that's
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So if people were interested to find out more about the services that you have available, what are some spots that they can go to?
Well, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn,
Hmm.
and I also have a website, which would be the best place to go. And if you would, put that website URL in the comments or
Perfect. Yeah.
along with it, that
Okay,
I'd
and
really
what is the
appreciate.
website?
It's ericleeproductions.com.
Perfect. Some of the services that you have available for people who are interested.
Well, as you might imagine, voice talent.
Yes.
And I also have a talent pool that I occasionally add to.
Oh, nice.
And the coaching part of it is there. Audio production, that would be another main category.
Right.
Script writing, and let's see, those would be the main things. I do video editing as well,
Okay,
so
great.
they can take a
Um,
tour.
I was gonna say on your website, I think you have some clips where they can see some of the things that you've done,
Yeah,
correct?
there are video samples. I have an
Yes.
on-camera demo there. All of my voice demos are there. They're not very long, so you
Hmm.
can invite friends over with popcorn and have a good
Nice.
time.
Sounds wonderful. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here today. I had a lot of fun. Um, I'm learning some new words. Right?
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity and the laughs. This
Of
this has
course.
been fun. Thanks,
Thank you
Kimberly.
so much.
Yep. Take care.